Again, what does, quote, forbidden to you are married women except what your right hand possess? What does that mean to you? It says forbidden to you to marry your mother, sister, etc. And, quote, please note the emphasis on the end. All married women except slave. Right, it says that, alright, you don't have a problem with something that removes or at least eases African American complaint for the time the U.S. had slavery. The and is important, and except is the break that divide the paragraph into. Where is the and? The first part is the list of all forbidden things, and the second part is the slave women. Again, why the, quote, except? How does that suddenly, quote, make it, how does it suddenly make it okay to have sex, I mean, quote, marriage, end quote, with married slave women? Yet you ignore verse 422 and 23, and you ignore, quote, end, and you just cut and paste the verse forbidden from the previous verse, and then you erase and just add all married women except slaves. Really? So what you are saying is that once the word, quote, except, unquote, kicks in, it's talking about a whole new topic. True? Feel free to interject. I mean, really, is that what you're talking about? All those things mentioned, of course, if you edit it like that, by cutting and pasting, you can achieve whatever you want to achieve. Well, do you? Well, I tell you what, do the same thing with my own stuff, okay? Anyone can manipulate the words to serve his purpose. Again, feel free to do what I do with yours, alright? I'm not sure whether you genuinely do that, since I explained that to you many times and you keep repeating that out of context and cut and paste method. And you know the real context? Then put the real context, okay? Don't just say that if you read the three verses together, my interpretation is more logical than yours. Sorry, I don't. It's just more confused. Again, write it the way it's really supposed to sound in English, okay? I mean, it sounds more confused, especially when you focus on the quote, and marriage to incest is indecent. Please put how it's supposed to really sound. The use of the word fortress is beautiful linguistically, because, quote, when except, end quote, is used, it suddenly means those married slave women are like fortresses. You are mixing both things. In what way? Sounds like you are. I tell you what, if I praise the linguistic use of the word, this doesn't mean I'm praising the meaning or the message of the sentence. Why? So it's still what Qur'an 4:22 calls it: indecent, abominable, hateful, evil. What? It's like I said, it's more beautiful and eloquent and linguistically to use the word feces instead of the word chip. So, when you said beautiful, you didn't mean it because of Qur'an 4:22? Well, then you claim that I said that the feces is beautiful. It sounds like you are back to agreeing with the Qur'an that it is indecent, abominable, hateful, evil. But again, it certainly doesn't. It certainly doesn't mean that when it's with those married slave women your right hand possess. Again, you don't see how this removes or at least eases the complaint of African Americans at the time the U.S. had slavery? Now, do you see now what I mean? I'm not. If not, then your situation is grave. Why don't you just write it out in English how it's really supposed to sound? I tell you what, I'll post all three famous versions of the Qur'an in English and do with it what I do with speeches. Okay? Okay, here's Qur'an 4:22, Yusuf Ali. And marry not women whom your father is married, except what is past. Except what is past? What is past? You mean you can marry your father's dead wife? Well, here's the Qur'an again. It says, it was shameful and odious, an abominable custom. Yeah, well, necrophilia is that. That is for sure. Okay, here's the Qur'an for Pickle. And marry not those women whom your father is married, except what hath already happened of that nature in the past. Go back in time and marry her before your dad marries her? Does this sound like, quote, clear signs handed down unto you? Okay, then the Qur'an says, lo, it was it was ever lewdness and abomination and an evil way. And marrying, unquote, her before your dad did is all of that, unless you have a time machine? Well, here's what Shakir says. And marry not women whom your father is married, except what has already passed. Oh, it sounds like you can marry her if she's dead? Sounds like necrophilia is allowed in the, quote, clear signs handed down, unquote. Well, this is Qur'an again. Yusuf Ali. This surely is indecent and hateful and is an evil way. That's Shakir. Unless she's dead, right? So, it's indecent, abominable, hateful to, quote, marry, unquote, if she's alive, but not so if she's dead. So necrophilia is allowed. Wow. Okay, here's Yusuf Ali 4:23. Prohibit to you from, quote, marriage. It says marriage. Yeah, right. Quote, marriage, unquote. Right. Qur'an says, are your mother's daughters, sisters, father's sisters, mother's sisters, brothers, daughters, sisters, daughters, foster mothers, who gave you suck. Foster sisters, your wives, mothers, your stepdaughters under your guardianship, born of your wives to whom ye have gone in. No prohibition if you have not gone in. Those who have been wives of your sons proceeding from your loins, and to sisters in wedlock at one and the same time, except for what is past. Again, if she's dead. For all is oft forgiving, most merciful. Only if she's dead. Now here's Pickle. Forbidden unto you are the mothers and your daughters and your sisters, and your father's sisters, and your mother's sisters, and your brother's daughters, and your sisters' daughters, and your foster mothers, and your foster sisters, and your mother-in-laws, and your daughter-in-laws, who are under your protection, born of your women unto whom ye have gone in. But if you have not gone in unto them, then you can have sex with them. I mean, quote, marry, unquote, them. Then, the Qur'an says, then it's no sin for you to marry your daughters. What? What? You can marry them if you haven't married them? What? You can marry them if you haven't, quote, married, unquote, them? Does that make sense to you if the word in Arabic really is, quote, marry, unquote? Are you sure it's not sex? Anyway, here's the Qur'an again. And the wives of your sons who are spring from your own loins, and it is forbidden unto you that you should have two sisters together, except what hath already happened of the nature in the past. Have, quote, marriage, unquote, with the dead one, or go back in time. Does this sound like clear signs handed down to you? Qur'an, lo, Allah is ever forgiving, merciful. What, to necrophilia? To necrophiliacs? Well, anyway, here's Shakir. He says, forbidden unto you are your mothers and your daughters and your sisters and your paternal aunts and your maternal aunts and brothers, daughters and sisters, daughters and your mothers that you have suckled, and your foster sisters and your mothers and of your wives and your stepdaughters who are in your guardianship, born of your wives to whom you have gone in. But if you have not gone into them, to have sex or, quote, marry them, then the Qur'an says, there is no blame on you in marrying them. So, if you had sex, I mean, quote, marry, unquote, of them, you can't, quote, marry, unquote, you can't quote, marry, unquote, them. You can't marry them. But if, quote, marry them. But if you haven't, quote, marry, unquote, them, then it's okay to, quote, marry, unquote, them. Are you sure Qur'an 422 isn't talking about sex with her? If not, why is it called indecent, evil, hateful, abominable, a hateful thing, unless you haven't gone in and, quote, married, unquote, them? Or unless she's dead?